Your name is Rebecca Owens. You just finished your studies in mortuary science. You studied hard, spent countless nights fueled by coffee studying human anatomy, embalming techniques, and restorative art for your exams. And now, with your degree in hand, you're ready to become a mortician. The next step is to first seek out an apprenticeship, and lucky for you, the local morgue is looking for one. Raymond Delver, the legally distinct twin brother of Mads Mikkelsen and owner of the Riverfields Mortuary, has decided to take you under his wing. You show up during the day for what appears to be your final assessment. Depending on how this goes, you might become a full-time employee. So you enter the morgue, greet your boss, and begin the process of embalming the body of a recently deceased person through a variety of means and techniques. And as our job is almost over,
tell you what.
What?
Why don't you go ahead and head out? I'll take over from here.
wait, what was that? Perhaps... No. Must have been the wind. Or a trick of the mind, surely. Your next shift, though, will be much different from this one. It's time for your first graveyard shift, pun intended. You will have to work in a morgue at night, alone. Just you and the cadavers. But something is wrong. Strange things are happening, and the entire situation takes a 180-degree turn when your boss, Raymond, informs you that you are not alone in the morgue. A demon has possessed one of the 3 bodies you're supposed to embalm, and is using its powers and influence to torment and trick you, hoping to weaken your mind. And now, it's up to you to figure out which body is possessed and burn it, or the next one to be possessed is going to be you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the premise of the game Mortuary Assistant. In case it wasn't obvious enough from the presentation, Mortuary Assistant is a horror game, and a pretty good one at that. In this video, I will attempt to offer a comprehensive analysis of the game, its mechanics, and why I think it succeeds in the horror genre, despite offering an experience that's quite different from most horror games around. You can take this video both as a guide and as a review to some of the most important aspects of the game, and to that end, let's begin by talking about the core gameplay loop. The gameplay in Mortuary Assistant is by no means complicated or hard, and it mainly revolves around, surprise surprise, that's right, embalming bodies.
Hello? Nope. New job. I'm getting out of here.
Well, that's at least the first half of the gameplay. The second half we'll talk about later. Embalming a body requires the player to use the correct items in order to follow a set of procedures. We begin by first using the gurney to retrieve the body from cold storage and take it to the main room, where we will proceed to inspect the body by checking for any marks or wounds, and then we proceed to make a report, file it, and deliver it to the entrance of the morgue. Afterwards, we retrieve the needle injector and the suturing needles, and we proceed to close the body's mouth shut, followed by doing something similar to the eyes through the use of eye caps. The next step in the process is to drain the body of its blood and embalm it. To do so, we are going to have to prepare a concoction using glutaraldehyde, methanol, humectant, formaldehyde, and a ball of baleful reagent. Now, the last ingredient is not something that we will normally use to embalm a body, but I will talk about it more later on. As our concoction is ready, the next part involves using a scalpel, forceps, and PVC tubing. We make a small incision on the cadaver's neck, hold it open with the forceps and insert the PVC tubing, and from there we simply turn on the pump and enjoy the loudest noise possibly known to mankind. As that is over, we stitch up the incision and proceed to fill up an IV bag with cavity fluid, and use a trocar to insert all of that sweet juicy nectar into the cadaver, turning it into a cavity fluid piñata. Once that is done, all that remains is to walk into the bathroom closet, retrieve a tank cleaner, pour it into the embalming pump and apply the finishing touches by cleaning the cadaver's face and properly moisturizing it, and then return it to the cold storage. And that's it. This is pretty much most of the gameplay. Simple, right? Especially considering that we do have a handy clipboard on us at all times that we can use to check on our progress, in case we forget something. But truth to be told, there is more. I mean, come on. I've already mentioned it in the premise, and the reality is that there's a twist to the game. The twist being that there is a demon in the morgue. As we begin our night shift, there will be 3 cadavers present in the cold storage room, and one of those 3 is currently possessed by a demon. And the second half of the gameplay will revolve around attempting to figure out which cadaver is the one possessed by the demon and exorcise it. Exorcising the demon is not a simple task, and we'll have to use a few different tools in order to achieve that. The first one is the use of the baleful reagent. Remember when earlier I mentioned that during the embalming procedure another key item that must be added to the mixture is the baleful reagent? The role of this concoction is simple, yet vital. What it does is essentially bind the demon to the body it is currently in, preventing it from escaping to another body. The second step of the process is figuring out the demon's name. This is another important step in the process of banishing the demon. In order to do that, we'll have to make use of letting strips. Those pieces of paper are pretty much required in order to figure out the name, and the way they work is that we'll grab one of them from the cabinet and then proceed to walk around the morgue. The moment a strip of paper begins smoking, it means we are close, and the moment it bursts up in flames, the sigil will be revealed on a nearby surface. Finding the demon's name will require finding 4 sigils, but it's important to note that those sigils will not appear all at once, so this is more of a process that will have to work throughout the night. With the bodies embalmed, with the baleful reagent and the name obtained and cross-referenced in the computer, which is also where we'll find a lot of information regarding demons, we can proceed to create a clay mark. And with that, all that remains is to place it over the possessed body, and then burn it into the retort. But the question is, how do we figure out which is the correct body? You see, with 3 bodies, if we were to pick one at random, we'd have 1 in 3 chances of getting it right. But I'm pretty sure that after almost 1 hour of embalming and going through a variety of jump scares and horrific events, we wouldn't exactly want to leave this up to chance. Identifying the correct body entails a bit of guesswork, but there are ways to narrow it down. Pay attention first of all to just how many events happen throughout the night, as it is most likely that the haunted body, while we will be embalming it, is also the one that's going to trigger most haunting events. We should also pay attention to the body in itself. Chances are the possessed body will change in subtle manners. New marks or wounds could appear over it, and in most cases we will be able to notice subtle changes in its facial expression, such as the body slightly smiling, although that tends to be rather subtle. A good giveaway though generally is the body in itself twitching or moving during the embalming process, but make no mistake, that does not guarantee anything, as it may be the demon attempting to trick you into burning the incorrect body. One clue that I found to be particularly good of a tell, at least during most of my playthroughs, is that when placing the clay mark on a body, the demon might talk to us through the body, saying something along the lines of, "You're wrong, you know?" or "Are you sure?"
You're wrong, you know.
This generally is almost always a guarantee that the body that we picked is indeed the correct one, as the demon is now trying one final desperate trick in an attempt to save itself. Now, there is one way to actually make guessing the correct body easier, and that's through the use of ashes. Keep in mind, this is something that you can only do once, per run basically, but using an ash bag to collect ashes from the retort, placing them over a cadaver, and burning them with a match will reveal a sigil. If you are already aware of the demon's name, you can actually cross-check the sigil with the other ones in the system and see whether they are a match or not. If it is a match, chances are this just might be the correct body, and if it's not a match, well, you pretty much eliminated one out of the 3 choices, turning this into a 50-50 chance. Although, the way I see it, you should be using this to turn a 50-50 into an almost guarantee, as I believe that the best strategy in order to pick the correct body is to actually eliminate the one least likely to be the possessed one, and then, when only 2 remain, make use of the Ash test in order to further increase your chances at picking the correct one. Now, while all of this doesn't sound necessarily hard, embalming the bodies, checking the bodies, looking for the correct sigils in order to figure out the demon's name and so on, there is one detail that it's important to keep in mind, and that is the time limit. Mortuary Assistant does a fantastic job at inducing stress and anxiety by introducing a time limit to this whole ordeal. That's right, if you fail to identify, embalm and burn the correct body within this time limit, our character, Rebecca, will become possessed by the demon she is trying to banish, meaning that every time we hesitate, every time we make a mistake, or take longer than we should in finding the items required to embalm the body, every time we decide to check one of the bodies again for freshly appeared marks or clues that could lead to their correct identification, we are actually using up an important resource, time. And the best part about all this is that the game does not tell us how much time we have left. All that we're given is a notepad on the top left of the screen, which we can scribble on whenever we want to try and guess how much time we have. At first it's going to look like random scribbles, but the less time we have, the more the drawing will begin to start looking like a sigil in itself. And the moment it looks like a proper sigil, well, it means we are out of time, and we gotta make a decision, quickly. While now I have covered the mechanical aspects of the game, let's talk about the other aspects. How does the game feel? What's the vibe around it? Essentially, it's time to talk about the subjective parts of the game and how I feel towards them, and to that end, I'm first going to talk about the negative aspects of the game. In these kind of videos, I do like to talk about the bad parts first to get them out of the way, and I don't like keeping them for last because if there is something that I dislike, is ending a video on a negative tone. So, while I did say that the Mortuary Assistant is a really good horror game, it is far from perfect. The game does have some very apparent flaws to it. The gameplay loop in itself can get pretty tedious at times. I'm going to say it now. While the idea of embalming cadavers is pretty cool and from what I've gathered depicted in a pretty close manner to how it is done in reality, it does get tedious. It is really mostly just a repetitive point and click operation, with the only elements changing or being different from cadaver to cadaver being the fact that they have different markings. And I'm gonna be real, finding or trying to spot new markings on each cadaver isn't that exciting either. Funnily enough, the game does feature an embalming only mode, which raises the question, why? I mean, I assume the point of that mode is to help you grind the Embalm 100 Cadavers achievement uninterrupted by any hauntings, but personally I don't really see much of an appeal to it. I don't think the embalming part of the game is bad, but it can get tedious. The way I see it, it's more of a means to an end, if that makes sense. In a normal game mode, the main reason as to why we embalm the cadaver is in order to keep it under observation and see if it behaves in any way it shouldn't during the embalming process. That and the fact that embalming the correct body is required in order to win. But without knowing which is the correct body, we'll pretty much have to embalm all 3 of them. And we are actually motivated in doing that quickly and efficiently due to the invisible timer, or the proverbial Damocles sword hanging over us. Take away these elements and the embalming part is just that. I mean, sure, it looks kinda cool, I guess, but I'd say that after the 5th or 6th cadaver where you do the same thing over and over with nothing in between, it's gonna get pretty stale. Especially considering that essentially every single cadaver is the same. Every person that arrives in our morgue, without any exception, has apparently died of some heart attack or disease that left their bodies preserved perfectly. We never get to embalm someone that died in a car crash or anything similar that will require us to actually at least partially reconstruct the body. There is never missing limbs or actually any wounds that would indicate the cause of death. And yeah, sure, I get it, that's how it is in real life. But this is a video game, and I feel like a lot of the redundancy in the embalming process, both in and out of the embalming mode, could have been avoided if there was an actual difference between the cadavers. Different wounds, different reasons for death, and thus different embalming techniques required for each cadaver. The embalming mechanic is something that makes more than half of the gameplay, and yet lacks the most in terms of variety for a game whose one of its strongest selling points is its replayability, given that the game does keep track of your statistics in the main menu and features multiple endings, all requiring multiple runs and attempts in order to obtain. Another critique that I have to address to the game is that there are certain small plot details that take me off. I'll talk about mostly just one of them. This is just a personal thing of mine, but I thought I will mention it anyway. Okay, so think about the story in the context of this game. We're working at a morgue, right? Our role is to embalm bodies of recently deceased and prepare them for a viewing at a funeral. So why are we burning the bodies? I mean, yes, obviously we're burning the bodies because they're possessed, and by doing so we're banishing the demon inside. But how does the mortuary explain this to the family of the deceased? Look, supposedly our boss Raymond has been doing this for a long time, so how many bodies has he burned without the deceased family's approval? What? Is he telling everyone that the body was possessed by a demon and required banishing? How is this morgue still operating? You could say that since we have a retort, the morgue is actually more of a crematory than anything, but at that point, what's the point of the embalming? Of course, during certain funerals, cadavers are embalmed for a final viewing before being cremated, but I'm sure you get what I'm saying here and how this whole process makes little to no sense at all. Like, this entire morgue will have been closed down long ago under reclamations or complaints from the public, and Raymond will have been in jail. Oh yeah, and also the legs of our character clipped through the couch in the first intro scene of the game. Yeah, that's it. Honestly, as far as things that I disliked about the game go, that's pretty much it. So now, let's talk positives. And certainly, there's a bit to say in regard to that. It's important to take note that the game is meant to have a certain degree of replayability, and to that end, many of its elements are randomly generated. The demon's name, the location where the sigils can appear, the cadavers in the morgue, but most importantly, the jump scares and the hauntings. The game does feature a great variety of different events, jump scares and general spooky stuff that can happen, but those are randomly selected throughout a run, so playing 2 subsequent runs practically guarantees that you won't have the same experience twice, as you're always unsure what to expect. And while some of these hauntings have no purpose other than spooking the player, as they are, at the end of the day, pretty much harmless and won't kill us, they can actually put a dent in our plans. There are a very few haunting events which can end up either into a chase scene or into a backstory related moment, and depending on how we resolve these, we might end up getting bumped ahead in our possession timer. In that regard, there are a few items that we can use during certain specific events in order to resolve the haunting in a peaceful manner, so to speak, and those are the sobriety coins and the dad's necklace, which can be found in the apartment. There's another subtle yet effective element in the gameplay of Mortuary Assistant, and that's the map in itself. The map is rather small. It's only 4 rooms, really. 5 or 6 if you want to count the hallways, but pretty much we have the lobby, the bathroom, the embalming room, and the cool storage. A cool thing that this game does is force us to actually wander through the mortuary during the embalming phase. Retrieving the body makes us go from the embalming room to the cold storage. After printing out the cadaver's relevant information, we have to take the embalming report to the lobby, and cleaning the embalming pump requires us to go to the bathroom that's located in the lobby. It might not seem like much at first, but it does induce a certain sense of anxiety, because me personally, dude, I hated those parts, in a good way. Every time I was forced to leave the sanctuary that was the embalming room, it was always nerve-wracking. In the embalming room, you can see the entire room, like you get to see the whole place. It's a big open room. But having to go to the bathroom to get the cleaning fluid, my mind will always jump to the idea of, wait, what if there's something waiting for me in the bathroom? What if there's something going to wait for me when I come back? It's a brilliant design that does ensure that we actually get to explore the entirety of the mortuary multiple times throughout the run, and always keeps us at the edge of our seats because we are leaving this safe zone, so to say. While the major antagonist of the game is obviously the demon that we are trying to banish, the one currently occupying one of the 3 cadavers, it won't really do much other than cause doors to open and close, contort and move the cadavers, lights to be turned on and off, and sometimes plunge us into a nightmarish vision of our character's past. Another thing that will keep the tension up are going to be the lesser spirits, which we can find a bit of information about in the Night Shift database. The Shadow Man, a weaker manifestation of the House of Immolation. The Shadow Man is often seen as a guide, though it may also be used to spy on the living. This spirit will sometimes appear throughout our runs, usually hiding in the distance, stalking and observing us. It's probably the most subtle out of the 3, and to be fair, due to that is also the one I tend to notice the least. But believe me, the moment you do notice him, it's always pretty spine-chilling. The Woman in White, a fleeting manifestation of the House of Desolation. This is by far the most aggressive of the 3 spirits. She will appear close to us, around corners or behind doors, attempting most of the time to get physical. She isn't particularly good at hiding, so her arrival is generally not that big of a surprise, but she is perhaps the most dangerous out of the 3 spirits, especially considering that during one of her hauntings she will trigger a chase scene, and if we do not manage to outrun her, she will catch us, weaken our spirit, and in fact advance the possession timer forward. The Mimic, a weaker manifestation of the House of Invidiousness. This one is a bit of a mix between the other 2. Its presence isn't nearly as subtle as the Shadow Man, but he generally tends to scurry away and flee when noticed, unlike the Woman in White. Despite that, he is definitely the most iconic haunting in the game, and with a good reason. His design is extremely creepy and off-putting, and the way he works is that he will appear at some point throughout the mortuary, somewhere in rather plain view, but partially hidden, and will proceed to stand still until noticed, sort of like a silent observer before scurrying away into a seemingly impossible space. Overall, the 3 spirits add a lot. I would like to see more of them, or perhaps even have them be somewhat unique to each run. Given that each spirit belongs to one of the 3 houses, having only the one belonging to the house the current demon is from could have been a cool detail, especially since it could have served as an early clue in order to determine the demon's name. So what else is there to say about Mortuary Assistant? I mean, not much else really. The game is definitely a must play for fans of the horror genre, and if you have already played it and enjoyed it, then you will be delighted to find out that a film adaptation is scheduled to be released in 2026, as the rights to the movie have been acquired by Shudder. On another note, the developer of Mortuary Assistant, Darkstone Digital, is currently developing and about to release a new game called Paranormal Activity Threshold, which by the looks of it will be a similar experience to Mortuary Assistant, a horror experience with a degree of replayability, less focused on the whole embalming thing and more focused just on the horror aspect. One of the key features is listed as the paranormal engine makes every playthrough unique, which I think means that the game will have randomized jumpscare in events like Mortuary Assistant does, which actually sounds pretty great. With this being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Will you be playing Mortuary Assistant, or have you played it already? If so, what are your thoughts on it? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to spare a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. As always, I would also like to thank this channel's members for their support, and I would like to thank you, the viewer, for watching this until the very end. I hope you have a good night, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.